Joshua, what is a collection of knowledge, like a dictionary or an encyclopedia or a bestiary, that you've come across in your research that is just wild?
Well, I've got two things in mind. I've got a beautiful collection of reduplicative words. That's been a real pleasure of mine. And I also have the Webster's, I'm not going to get the title of this right. It's like the Webster's Dictionary of Unusual Words or Impossible Words. I'm going to have to dig this up for you. And it's like obscure sound effects and things that aren't really words, things that involve more X's and Z's than you would expect. But that's also a lot of fun.
Sounds like unusual is an understatement there. It's like alien language.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I wish I had it to hand. I will dig it up and send it to you. But it's an interesting one.
Welcome to Butter No Parsnips. Every week on Butter No Parsnips, your hosts Emily Moyers and Kyle Imperatore take you on an adventure through the weird, wacky, wonderful, and sometimes even wicked world of one wayside word. Strange characters, delightful bits, and general joyousness abound. Join them as they test each other's etymological expertise.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Butter No Parsnips. My name is Emily Moyers.
And my name is Kyle Imperatore.
Kyle, are you ready for another reunion?
Oh my god, no. I just ran into my high school bully at the store the other day, and she gave me a wedgie in the produce section.
No, not a high school reunion, but, hey, very progressive gender roles happening there.
Oh yeah, I was bullied by my trigonometry teacher. She's 87 now. You're right, though. We love to see a woman in STEM.
Okay, so Kyle, I'm talking about our guest today.
Are we doing another comeback?
Kyle, listeners at home, he ran one of the most successful Kickstarter campaigns for a word quiz game ever. That campaign led to the creation of the game League of the Lexicon. He appeared on episode 67 of Butter No Parsnips to talk about it, and he's here now to promote the release of his new book, The Language Lover's Lexipedia. It's Joshua Blackburn. Joshua, it's so great to have you back on the show.
Hey, it's really exciting to be back. The last episode I did with you guys was a lot of fun. It's great to be looking at you again and talking about what I'm up to.
Incredible. So let's start right from the start here. There is a new US edition of your word quiz game, the League of the Lexicon, your initial claim to linguistic fame. Tell us more about the new edition.
So this was a really big deal because the game has been really successful in America, but I always felt like it wasn't right that what I was selling in America was based on British English. It was based on British references, the grammar and spelling of British English, and a lot of references that frankly people in America wouldn't necessarily get. And so I always felt like if the game was really going to make it in America, we needed a US edition. And for that US edition to be more than just a tweaking of the spelling, but a real complete review of the questions themselves. And so we've been working with the editorial team at Simon & Schuster, and we've been working with a previous guest of yours, Jess Safaris. We've added about 250, 300 entirely new questions to the game. And we also took the opportunity to completely redesign it. And the new design, though I say so myself, is really beautiful. It's really bright and bold, but with a lot of love and care. And it is now a proper US edition. It's really exciting to see it out there. And it just, I don't know, I think it looks really brilliant.
Every time you produce something, I am consistently like, wow, he has distilled every perfect aesthetic thing in the universe into this one package. How has this man managed this? It's amazing. It's incredible.
I really was determined, if I was going to change it, then to really raise the bar on it. And it, again, has been a real labor of love to get that design right. I've worked with new illustrators as well, and I've really kind of pushed it as far as I can.
Now, Joshua, we are not just here to talk about your word quiz game. We are primarily here to talk about your book, The Language Lover's Lexipedia. And we were curious how we kind of got from making the word quiz game leading to writing a book.
So it really did start with the US edition. I was talking to US publishers about getting the game made in America. And my agent had been asking me, so have you been thinking about doing anything else? And I had been thinking about doing a book. All of the work that I've done with League of the Lexicon naturally lends itself to something happening in a book. And she just said, well, just write a proposal and we'll see whether anybody's interested. And to my delight, there were publishers that were really interested in the book, both in the UK and the US. As I started working on it, it became like a complete no-brainer. Just like, well, of course I'm going to write a book because it's such a wonderful subject matter to explore. And I think I've got a rather different way of approaching this from other language books. So it very much flowed from the US edition.
Was there something in thinking about how to translate your ideas about language from game to book that was different for you, like as a medium, that you said, oh, what can a book provide that some of this concepts through a game cannot?
The limitation of legal lexicon is that everything is a 12-word question supplied with a 40 or 50-word answer. Those are the constraints of literally every single thing in the game. And in the course of my research, I've been diving down these amazing linguistic rabbit holes and then have been limited to writing a 40 to 50 word answer about this thing, whether it is the index of forbidden books or the great vowel shift or fossilized words. In each instance, it's like, well, that's really exciting, but I can only write 40 words on this. So when it came to the book, that was all kind of like uncorked. And I just like, okay, now I can write something about these amazing topics. Now I can really do a proper deep dive into it. It was very much led by my own kind of like natural curiosity and short attention span. So I'm fascinated by these topics and I dive down deep into those topics, but I don't want to write a book about that thing. There are people that have written books about Shakespeare. I don't want to be the guy that writes a book about Shakespeare. Yeah. I want to be the guy that wrote like a couple of pages about something really fascinating about how Shakespeare uses language.
You use the word curiosity there, and one of the first things you do in the Lexipedia is very clearly tell the reader, be curious. I believe we talked about this was a philosophy you had with the League of the Lexicon as well. It's obviously the philosophy you now have in this book. So I'm wondering if you could talk more about the role of curiosity when approaching language in the way that this book does.
I think that when I started working on the game, I felt like I had a dose of imposter syndrome as the game was really exploding, as it was getting these amazing reviews, and all of the rest of it. I felt like I was a bit of a fraud. Like, what right do I have to write anything about words and language? I'm not a linguist. I'm not a lexicographer. I didn't do English at university. Where do I get off trying to make a game about language? And then I kind of had a bit of a reset because I decided, actually, I don't think any of that matters. What I am is somebody who loves language, who is fascinated by language, and has the curiosity to ask questions about language. I don't pretend that I know the answers. What I'm interested in doing is looking for the answers. So often I would start off with a section in the Lexipedia, and I'd be like, I have no idea. I've heard of the Great Vowel Shift. I know, broadly speaking, what it is, but really, I am not an expert in this. I don't know, and I want to find out. And that is what, for me, being curious is all about. And sometimes when you approach something with a fresh set of eyes and just a wondering mind, then you can go to some really interesting and exciting places. I've now written like 3,500 questions. That's a lot of work. And you're not going to be able to do that unless you're really, really curious about your subject matter. That curiosity was the fuel for me to write the game questions. And it was the fuel for the book as well, which was also a lot of hard work. But when you are exploring stuff that is fascinating, when you're exploring stuff that is making you wonder and makes you want to find out more, then it's really not work or doesn't feel like work in the same way.
I mean, there's so much work that's been put into the book and so many fascinating, curious topics that have been covered. And you can see the certain rabbit holes and the linkages. And I've done this. Like Emily and I have done this. We've been down these rabbit holes before. I also know people who maybe aren't necessarily asking those questions. Do you see perhaps a byproduct of the way the book is organized as fostering that curiosity in people? Leading them to ask those questions?
Absolutely. When we were first talking to publishers about the book, I remember a meeting that we had with one publisher that was really interested in it. And she said she really liked it, but she would like it to be a bit more structured. So to have a section on etymology and a section on usage and a section on slang or stuff like that. And I was really quite clear that was not right. That was not how I saw language. I don't see it in these neat boxes. And for me, the pleasure is starting off with reduplicative words and going from there to nonsense and going from there to Charles Dickens character names. And it's almost like a children's party game where you're kind of like drawing connections between apparently unrelated things. But you can see how these things connect because, of course, language is all a series of fascinating connections. And maybe it's because I'm not a linguist or a lexicographer or etymologician, somebody who does etymology.
I like that.
I can see. Well, I'm interested in peeking over the silos a little bit and just, but like a kid in a candy shop, just saying, "Oh, that looked great," and dashing over there and then picking up the thing next to it as well.
Speaking of the way that the book is organized very simply. It goes from A to Z, showcasing a multitude of linguistic phenomena out there, from Sequoia's Cherokee alphabet to the interrobang punctuation mark and many others. And it did have us curious what the selection process was like. How do you go about determining what goes into the book versus what gets cut out?
It's slightly, I was going to say it's slightly self-indulgent, but that makes it sound self-indulgent. But it really was, do I think this is interesting? Does this interest me? Is this going to be a fun thing to research? Is this something where people are going to look at it and be like, never thought about that. That's interesting. And that's kind of the effect that I was after. I did not want a language encyclopedia. I did not want an academic book. What I wanted was, and I remember talking to the designer about this, I wanted the contents to feel like catnip for anyone with a curious mind, for them to look at the content section and be like, ooh, where to begin? I mean, in A, I'm looking at the A section. It starts abracadabra, advertising slogans in Latin, alternatives to hello, Americanisms, ampersand, anagrams, animal adjectives. I mean, those things do not follow in any way other than the fact they start with an A. And you really can dive into it on any page. Or you can start at the beginning and read forward if you want. But in a sense, for me, it's just a matter of just diving in and just seeing what you find.
It mimics the research process. There's this wonderful kind of symmetry there that I really love. And I do want to say the catnip that killed the curious cat is a really wonderful way to describe research on these fascinating subjects.
In another age, I possibly would be described as someone with attention deficit disorder. I'm of an age where that label was not given to me. But I think that for me, I have approached this with a delight in just exploring this and then exploring that and then diving down this. And, oh, there's a butterfly over there, and investigating what that is. This is a selection of stuff that feels really fascinating and that makes me wonder, and that doesn't box a reader in with a kind of, this is a book about archaic words, or this is a book about etymology. This is a book about language, and you can unpick it and unravel it and dive into it however you want.
Yeah. So we know from experience that just diving into one word can lead you to all sorts of crazy places. So we were just curious, what are some of the most surprising rabbit holes that you went down in writing the Lexipedia?
Well, a lot of it was a real kind of voyage of discovery for me. I loved writing the section on Charles Dickens' character names.
I was so fascinated by that section. Yeah.
It was a real pleasure. And I think you can see from that section that I really struggled to fit it into 2 pages because there was just so much to say. It surprised me how rich and interesting this whole area was. So obviously he's got these wonderful names, and then there are all of the wonderful names that he never ended up using. And then there are all of the wonderful names that have actually become dictionary entries in their own right. And then there are the wonderful nicknames that he gave his children. And it was just like, oh, there's just too much that's to contain within these pages. And then you discover these things that I never knew about. So I didn't know about Charles Dickens's Book of Memoranda, which was his notebook, and which just sounds like the most extraordinary literary artifact in existence, where he scribbled down potential names, and he also scribbled down plot ideas. And it was just like, oh my God, this is Charles Dickens's working. I mean, there were some sections that were fascinating and quite time consuming, because one of the things that I hate, I've now amassed quite a library of books, but one of the things I really hate is sloppy research. I hate reading something and you're just like, well, that's wrong. And you should not have put that in the book. And the fact that you have put that in the book means that you're just doing lazy research. And so even though I was approaching these topics often with kind of like quite a fresh, well, that's a euphemistic way of just saying ignorant mind, I did not want to write something that was ill-informed. So I took quite an encyclopedic approach to every entry I wrote. So the section on Shakespearean coinages was a bit of a nightmare to write, because that is a world that is full of bullshit. And it is full of people saying Shakespeare invented the English language. And I mean, there's so many websites will give you really long lists of bogus words that he did not invent. And finding a way to cut through all of that nonsense and get to the truth of the matter, rather than just perpetuating more of the same, was a real challenge. In that instance, I was able to connect with somebody who had just written, literally coming out this year, it's come out this year, some groundbreaking research about the words that Shakespeare coined, and actually being able to go to the freshest possible research on the subject and say, this is what academics are saying. And similarly, the section on the ampersand was really interesting. I had a lot of fun with that. But again, that took me a lot of time to unpick. Because again, people have said very confidently where the ampersand comes from. And actually in my entry, I was starting to tell that story as well. But then when I started to try and speak to people about it, I was just like, you know what? I just don't know whether I believe this. And so I did a lot of original research myself and found myself coming to a slightly different conclusion about it, which was really interesting. But it became quite time consuming because it would have been very easy just to regurgitate what everybody else says about the history of the ampersand. But that was not where my research was leading me.
One of the things that I found fascinating that I really enjoy about the book is just the decision to kind of choose a topic and to do this sort of scholarly research and to its fullest as much as you can in 2 pages, kind of explain it to people and point out that this exists. It really feels like it's legitimizing these concepts, these linguistic concepts that aren't necessarily talked about in scholarly fields. Like even I was reading the page on racehorses today. And I've always, whenever I'm doing linguistic research, I come across hits of racehorse names, and I'm like, there's got to be something to that. And just you picking, like choosing it as a concept to talk about, and then going from top to bottom. Do you feel like you're legitimizing? I guess that's perhaps a loaded word, but bringing some scholarly research into fields that are maybe kind of, I don't know, water cooler talk?
It's nice that you say that. I don't know whether it's necessarily about being scholarly. I'm trying to be thorough, and I'm trying to answer a question I've asked myself, which is, where do these names come from? Is there any rules about what names you can choose? And for me, an awful lot of the book is just based on stuff that you half know about, but a lot of people just don't think of asking any additional questions about it. I mean, for instance, the IKEA product naming is a classic one. Mm-hmm. Exactly the same as the racehorse names. They're names that you know. You've seen funny IKEA names. You've seen funny racehorse names. You know that there must be some kind of a system, or you think there might be, or maybe you've never wondered about it. But what I've been doing in the book is just asking the question, okay, actually, how does that work? Where do those come from? What is the history of that? And that's where the be curious thing comes into it. It is taking something that you think you know, racehorse names, they're kind of funny, and actually just bringing a dose of curiosity to it. I mean, a classic example of that is the fossilized words, which is another section that I love, and which is a classic instance of how in language we use words without a thought as to what exactly that means. So when you say that you are at loggerheads with someone, everyone knows that expression. We use it, but very rarely do you say, wait a second, what is it? What are loggerheads? I don't know. Do you have a loggerhead? Do I wear a loggerhead? Do I want a loggerhead? Do you want my loggerhead? I don't know. And the same kind of like kit and caboodle. We all know the expression now, kind of like a whole kit and caboodle. But we don't stop and say, what the is a caboodle? I don't know what a caboodle is. Do I want it? Do I want the whole shebang or not?
Yeah.
Do you want? Are you trying to get rid of your shebang? Do I want your shebang? Can we go halves on a shebang? And for me, that is what being curious is about. Is just like, it's that little kind of like emergency stop where you're just like, whoa, wait a second. What does that even mean? And for me, that is the beauty of language. I think that for me is what loving language and being curious about language is all about.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of this book is when you read a sentence, you're like, oh my God, that clicks like 9 different things into place in my head. Mm-hmm. But another really fun inclusion of the book, maybe something that people weren't wondering about but are fascinating nonetheless, are the Lexipedia people sections that are sort of like inserts scattered throughout the book. Can you talk to us about these little profiles that are stuck in here and about the idea to include them?
One of the challenges of the book is just the scope of stuff that I would love to include. And these Lexipedia people were part of that because they didn't fit into the conventional A to Z thing, but they were people that I was coming across in my work that I thought, they're just fascinating stories, surprising stories, offbeat and often unheard stories that were really interesting to dive into myself. So we've got the Lexipedia people about William Minor, who was a prolific contributor of quotations to the Oxford English Dictionary in the early days of the dictionary's development. And he's got this astonishing story that was only found out by the OED people after he had been contributing quotations for 10, 15 years, something like that. Don't quote me. That he was actually locked up at the Broadmoor Asylum for the Criminally Insane. And he had murdered somebody and he had terrible hallucinations, but he was also this ferocious reader and collector of books who, in his lucid hours, dedicated himself to researching the origin of words. And so he would send through to the dictionary's lexicographers quotations that provided examples of usage of different words. And he would send through thousands and thousands of these. And it was only, I think, after the first edition was published that the editor of the dictionary actually started looking into who this person was. And then he went to go and visit him at Broadmoor. And he sounds like an amazing person, William Minor, a tortured person, but an amazing person. And eventually the OED editor and Winston Churchill as well, and other people were campaigning for his release, and he was eventually sent back home to America. But it was an amazing story. And so it was fun to be able to tell things like that.
Yeah, I think those inserts are really great. Those inserts and just a lot of the arrangement really serves to like vary up how each page looks and how each page feels. Looking through this book, Joshua, we were reminded that you have a background in design. It is like blatantly obvious flipping through every page that there is such an aesthetic and considered approach to how this book looks. It is gorgeous. So I was wondering if you could try to define that aesthetic. Does it pay homage to something? Does it come from a particular place?
For me, design is as important as the words on the page. And I wanted something that felt really special and really different. The Lexipedia is not your normal language book. And I didn't want the design to feel like your normal language book. I wanted it to really lift what was in there so that it would be as exciting to engage with the illustrations and the layout as it was with the words that were in there as well. We worked with a fantastic illustrator and designer to do that. I think I'm an absolute nightmare to work with because I just keep pushing it as much as I can, just like, yeah, more. And I was kind of like, I think I was quite a surprising author to work for or with in that respect, because I think that most authors are just like, yeah, that's lovely, let's go with that. Whereas I was like, yeah, that's great, but can we push it a little bit further? And I'm also an accumulator of found illustrations. So in my idle hours at 2:00 in the morning, I might buy a 19th century encyclopedia on eBay and then just like cut out the illustrations that I like. I know it's sacrilege. I can live with that. And I just collect these like weird little esoteric books that have got amazing illustrations in. And I love using stuff like that. I like stuff that feels genuinely original and special like that.
I think you were explaining to us the last time you were on the show that the League of the Lexicon, the game, came from a need to make COVID-era education more exciting for your children. And the Lexipedia seems to be this sort of resulting manifesto of that idea. So we were curious who you had in mind. What kind of person do you envision finding this book?
I think that books about language can feel rather exclusive. You need to be a wordy person. You need to have a vocabulary 5 times the size of anybody else. You need to be a grammarian or something like that. You need to be an academic. And while this is definitely a book for people who love language and who are interested in it, it is really about trying to make the world of language more accessible and open to people who are just curious about the world and who are open to seeing the beauty and wonder and surprise and depth of language and being open to exploring that. It is for people who are interested in words, but it is also about making it really accessible, but without dumbing anything down.
I mean, I really appreciate that because as somebody who's interested in words, I find that there's a barrier sometimes when I'm trying to talk to my peers or my family or friends about these concepts, and they feel like, well, I don't know as much as you do. And it's like, well, I only know this much because I was curious, and we can all be curious together and enjoy that fact. So I really love that aspect of the book. It's very, you're breaking down barriers, Joshua.
Well, that's nice to know. It has been an absolute joy to write. It's been tough to write. I wrote an entry about the names for God, which I must have spent a week writing because it was really difficult getting to the answers rather than just kind of, well, I think but actually properly, rigorously researching his different names. The section on gender was a nightmare to write. I had friends of mine saying, why are you doing this to yourself? You're going to piss off somebody. So why are you doing this to yourself? And I was really determined to write it because it is such an interesting area from a linguistic point of view. The whole discussion on debate, language is right at the center of that, whatever your point of view about it. And so I really wanted to look at it from a dispassionate point of view and just to peel back the language around the gender debate. But that was a very difficult entry to write as well, because I was trying to do something that is apparently impossible, which is not offend anybody.
Yeah, it's a very difficult thing to do. But speaking of like all-encompassing nature of language, from the branding to the website to the subject matter, it's clear that you're setting up a relationship between the Lexipedia, the League of the Lexicon. Can we expect more linguistic adventures like these, all under the same umbrella?
I would love to do more with publishing. I think this has really whet my appetite. And it was such fun to write it. I know from the people who have seen the book that they've had a lot of fun reading it. And I just think that it's scratching an itch that people have to find out more about language and just to do it in this rather gentle, light-hearted way, but in a way where people can see the thoroughness and rigor of the research that has gone into it as well. I think that I'd love to do a volume 2 of the Lexipedia. I've already got all of the entries lined up for it. I just need to get into it. And honestly, I'd love to do a Lexipedia for kids, because as you know, was where all of this started. And I think it'd be really fun to write a Language Lovers Lexipedia for younger readers, because that is entirely in the spirit of the game and the book and of the stuff that excites me.
I think those are 2 fantastic endeavors that we highly support. So anything we can do to help you get there, we're behind you.
I think also, and I don't know how this fits in, but as I'm reading more and more about AI and screen time and kind of like computer generated content and all of the rest of it, I think I dig my heels in even deeper with going hardcore analog with the stuff that I like doing. And I think that people will seek this kind of stuff out more in a world where more and more stuff is being made by a computer, doing stuff that's really, really human, diving into language, taking the hard work to really kind of like get into it, and just creating something that feels beautiful, that is made by real designers and real illustrators, that has that love and that craft in it. I think that for me, that's an important thing.
It certainly feels like as time goes on, AI and computer generation is kind of taking away the curiosity, taking away the wonderment in life and language in a lot of things.
I think that related to that, in the rare instances where I did research something using AI, the one thing that I learned is you can't trust a bloody word it says.
Yeah, trust it.
It makes up stuff like so massively. And I mean, that in itself is fascinating, the whole AI hallucinations. But the capacity to make stuff up is really quite something. So when I've been talking to my two boys about the dangers of using ChatGPT in their homework, I've been saying to them, A, don't, because that's cheating. B, don't, because it's really stupid and it will lie to you.
Yeah. Well, perhaps in addition to the importance of analog media in our digitally saturated world, big question before we get to our game, what are you hoping readers take away from the Language Lovers Lexipedia?
More questions, I think. I think that for me, the process of writing the book, every entry has led to more questions. So I'm hoping that somebody who is reading it will be discovering stuff that they never knew on every page, that they're fascinated to find out about on every page, and that makes them wonder more, makes them, I wonder where that came from. And actually just to question more what they see around them as well. Because as with the fossilized words, we hear this stuff and we never think of asking anything about it. And actually, there is so much that surrounds us with language that is worth asking questions about. Why do we say that? What do we mean by that? Where does that come from? How is that different from what we've said before? It's just like, it's so fascinating to ask these questions. And that really is what the book is about, having fun asking these questions.
We certainly are having fun, Joshua. Thank you so much. And speaking of fun and questions, I think we have one ultimate question here.
Yes, Joshua, I'm very excited because the last time you came on our show, you brought us a game, and I believe you have done so again.
Well, look, I'm sorry to lower the tone of things and get all serious, but I actually received some quite serious emails following our last quiz. And there was some suggestions that Kyle might have benefited from some chemical enhancement. And there is a suggestion that it wasn't all kosher.
I too received emails like this.
I'm glad
so
those went
offended.
out.
No, I can understand. I can understand that, but there was a suggestion that you might have been receiving some kind of brain-enhancing treatment.
Yeah, I heard about these rumors, Kyle, and
Yeah.
I think this is the best time to air it out.
Absolutely. And I just think we need to clear the air with a new quiz for you guys. And I think that just so long as, Kyle, if you just pee into a cup at the end of this episode, and we can just send it off to get tested, then I think that'll be okay.
I did one before the episode recording, just in case. So.
Yeah, we did implement that after that recording, Joshua. I forgot to mention that.
I thought that was just how you started every episode.
Thanks, by the way, Joshua, for yours as well.
So I do have 15 freshly squeezed questions for you, if you're ready for it.
Couldn't be more ready.
Stoked.
I don't know whether you remember how we played this last time, but I have 5 questions per person.
Yes. Oh, yes.
If they get that question wrong, then the other 2 players have an opportunity to answer it for a bonus mark. However, if they get that answer wrong, they lose a mark.
Right.
Yeah.
So it adds a level of jeopardy to the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So I'm gonna, let's start off with Emily.
Hit me.
Spell megalomaniac.
Oh, no.
As in, Seth's co-host senses his megalomaniac tendencies.
Okay. Megalomaniac.
Yes.
Megalomaniac. Megalomaniac.
She shoots, she scores, she has 1 point in the bag.
Which doesn't make the example sentence true, by the way. Just want to say
it doesn't. Sure, it doesn't
make it
absolutely.
It was true regardless.
I just plucked that from nowhere. Which of the following has never been trademarked? Heroin, realtor, adrenaline, or internet? Which of those words has never been a trademarked word?
Oh, wow. Oh, boy, this is hard. I'm going to say realtor has never been trademarked.
No, realtor has been a trademark for the National Association of Realtors since 1950.
Oh.
It's still trademarked?
Heroin and adrenaline have also been trademarks, and I've totally given away the answers. So screw that. You guys cannot go for this one. Internet is the answer.
That was going to be my guess.
That was my second guess.
Yeah. Okay, then. I'm not going to do that again.
But I appreciate if you could continue to make mistakes in my favor. That would be great.
Yeah.
What does an orchidometer measure? ORCHID, orchidometer. What does an orchidometer measure? Brain size, testicle size, food serving size, or orchid size?
I feel like we talked somewhere, or maybe I just found this and it didn't make it into an episode, that there is an association between orchid roots, a particular species of orchid, their roots, and testicles. So I'm going to say it's testicle size, and I really hope I'm not wrong because I'm going to sound insane.
No, you got it. You know your testicles.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, no, that came out wrong. You know your orchids, I mean. An instrument invented by Swiss pediatric endocrinologist Andrea Preda to determine testicular volume. I've looked these up online. It's basically like a string of balls of diminishing size, which you compare with testicles, and you're just like, yeah, it's that ball there. That's what it is. Apparently, they're also known as medical worry beads.
Testicles or the orchidometer?
The orchidometer. If you see a picture of it, you'll understand why. Okay. Right. Which word does not come from a person's name? Garrote, guillotine, boycott, or lynch? Which word does not come from a person's name?
Okay, my knowledge of American history is going to help me here. I was going to say I know that guillotine does come from someone's name. I know that boycott, I think, comes from someone's name. I'm not sure about the first one, but I know that lynch comes from a county. So that's not a person's name.
I'll throw it open to Kyle and Seth.
Oh, no.
Do we first to buzzer here?
Yes, it is now.
Garrote. I say garrote is not a person's name.
You get that, I'm afraid.
Oh.
Nice.
Your thinking was almost there, but Lynch is named after William Lynch.
He was a judge, right?
I think so,
Like
yes.
a cruel
Okay.
judge.
Right. And your final question.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
If you were to cook someone's bacon, what have you done? This is about US slang in the 19th century. If you were to cook someone's bacon, what have you done? Made them breakfast in bed? Sorted out their problems? Waited on them hand and foot? Or caused them serious harm?
Well, I know if your goose is cooked, you're in a bad situation. And that makes me feel like maybe this is similar. So I will say it is the last one.
And that would be the correct answer.
Yeah.
So that's a very strong score. Kyle, Seth, everything to play for.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah,
now that
seriously.
it's me and Kyle left, you know?
Absolutely.
I'm in last place
So
right
Kyle,
now.
let's start with you. Spell hemorrhoids. As in, Seth's hemorrhoids were getting him down.
Again, doesn't mean it's true.
Doesn't mean it's true.
That's clear.
Doesn't mean it's not true either. I don't know. I'm not familiar with Seth's hemorrhoid situation.
Oh, we're all too familiar. I do not know how to spell this word.
Hemorrhoids.
Okay, hemorrhoids. Here's my best guess. Hemorrhoids. Hemorrhoids.
You nailed it.
Oh, wow.
You nailed it. Nice work. I wonder whether hemorrhoids has ever appeared in a spelling bee.
Stunning.
It feels like it should have done.
It feels like it should have.
But also it feels weird to give that word to a 12-year-old.
Which statement is incorrect? Bi-weekly means occurring twice a week. Bi-monthly means occurring every 2 months. Biannual means occurring every 2 years. And semi-weekly means 2 times a week.
I think semi-weekly is the wrong one, even though it's the odd one out prefix-wise. I think that's the wrong one. That's my guess.
Fastest fingers, Emily, Seth. It's
think
open to you guys.
I'm buzzing. I think
I'll risk it. I say it's biannual. Oh, no.
Emily, he's really nailing these bonuses, I'm afraid. Yeah. Biannual does not mean occurring every 2 years. Something biannual occurs twice a year. Something that occurs every 2 years is biennial.
Oh.
I know. I've got to tell you, I've got to be really honest with you. If I was sitting in your seat, I would hate that question. I would absolutely hate that question so much. I'd be like, I don't know.
it is because like both the prefix bi and semi can sometimes mean every other or twice per. Like they can both mean both. And it's so annoying.
Right. Boodle was 19th century slang for what kind of money? Money stolen by politicians, counterfeit money, money spent recklessly, or money won or lost in a casino. Boodle.
This is a great question, and all of those answers seemed like they could be it, man. I think my gut is saying that it's counterfeit money.
So my gut says that this answer is now open to Emily and Seth.
Oh, man.
I'm sorry. You're being punished, I'm afraid. Right. So money stolen by politicians, money spent recklessly, or money won or lost in a casino.
I'm liking the first and the last one, but I think I'm going to go with the politician one.
And Emily gets the bonus.
I wasn't ready to risk that one. All of it sounded good.
Yeah. This is turning into a very hot race for everyone whose name is not Kyle. Just so you know.
And that's the way we like it.
Okay. What is an ad hominem? A gesture of support, a speech in praise of someone, a personal attack, or a long, rambling piece of writing? An ad hominem.
I think it's a personal attack. That's going to be my guess.
You got it. It's in the
yes.
bag. It literally means to a man, and refers to an argument which basically attacks the man rather than the points made in an argument.
I could hear it in a lawyerly context, and I was like, all right, why would people be upset? And I think it's because of the attack, so I'm glad it worked.
Right. Well, I like this one. This, for me, is kind of like classic lexicon material, because it's one of those things where it's just like, I've never really thought about this. In the term jaywalking, what is a jay? Is it a bird species similar to the magpie, a street vendor, an inexperienced person, or a young child?
Oh. I mean...
So this is what I'm saying. This is kind of like, this is classic lexicon, because this is like a word everybody in America knows, jaywalking, but its origin is perhaps a tad mysterious.
I truly have never thought about this. I mean, I know jay is like a type of bird, and I feel like jaybird, maybe I'm thinking of jailbird as like a reference to someone being a criminal. I'm going to go that it's an inexperienced person is a jay, and so you're walking inexperienced, like not knowing the laws. That's my
yeah. Well, you've got it. It is an inexperienced person. So the term first appeared around 1912. It appeared when the car makers were basically trying to get pedestrians to understand the new rules of the road, and no longer were the roads owned by pedestrians. Roads were now owned by cars, and people who weren't taking care when crossing the roads were inexperienced. So it's in Merriam-Webster defined as an impertinent chatterer, a dandy, or a greenhorn. And the sense of a jaywalker is an inexperienced person who doesn't know how to cross the road properly.
Yeah, that's great.
That's a good rescue. Your dignity is still there.
But I'll do my very best to take it away.
Excellent. Okay then. Seth, spell paraphernalia. As in, Seth's drugs paraphernalia littered the studio.
I'm going to get this one wrong.
You notice, not a comment. not a comment. Not a comment. I mean, no denial, no anything.
I just heard a fact.
Where do I think I get my enhancement drugs from?
Paraphernalia.
Okay. PARAPHERNALIA.
Nice work. You know your paraphernalia.
He knows his
what
way
can I
around
say?
Paraphernalia. Wow. Okay, cool. I got that right.
Yeah. What does the D stand for in the military term D-Day?
Day. It stands for day.
You said that with huge confidence.
Yeah, I learned that a long time ago, and it struck me because I think in France it's called J jour.
Yeah. So basically, D-Day is Day.
Why?
Wow. Yeah.
It was the day of days. It was
it was the day of days. Apparently, it was used as a military code since 1918.
Wow.
So D-Day was not the first D-Day.
Interesting.
Which has not been trademarked? Taco Tuesday, cheeseburger, hot dog, and popsicle. Which of those words has never been trademarked?
I'm going to go for hot dog.
Seth is on fire today, guys. I've got to tell you, Seth is he's been raking up the bonus questions.
I've come back with a vengeance.
I know.
Wow.
I mean, God knows what your P test is going to say. But I'm just saying that
it's electric green.
based on this, it's a good result. Yeah. So Taco Tuesday used to be a trademark of Taco John's until Taco Bell came and crushed their trademark. Somebody managed to trademark cheeseburger in 1935, although I don't think he ever protected it. And popsicle is a trademark owned by Unilever.
Yeah.
Right. What is an example of the Barnum effect? A, thinking everyone is looking at you. B, thinking you need a new car when you don't. C, thinking you're able to do something you can't. And D, thinking a horoscope is specifically about you.
I can see that this all has to do with Barnum, right? P.T. Barnum. Like, it obviously
Barnum,
all
indeed.
has to relate. And I'm trying to figure out which one makes the most sense. And I'm thinking, P.T. Barnum, what does he do? He sells you a bridge, right? That's his whole thing. He gets you to buy something that he can't sell you. And so in my head, I'm thinking, I'm going to go with the car. I'm going to go with the new car.
Emily and Kyle, open to you.
I mean, I feel like I have the least to lose here.
Oh, quite literally.
Yeah.
I mean, like, totally.
You'd be in debt if you got this wrong.
I want to go ahead and guess that it's the first one that you think everybody's looking at you.
I mean, when you say you have the least to lose, I've got to say you now have less to lose.
That's even less to lose.
Or more, yeah, you've got less to lose because you just lost a mark for that, I'm afraid.
It's like, I don't know of anything that specifically connects PT and horoscopes, but for some reason that is what my brain is more drawn to. So I'm going to say that one.
And you scooped up a bonus point.
Wow.
Yeah, the Barnum effect refers to people believing vague general statements, like horoscopes are uniquely applicable to them. So you have a bonus there. I mean, Carl, you're just in this to make up the numbers now.
Can we add it to my score from last time?
Right, your last question. Someone on the wagon doesn't drink alcohol. But what was the wagon? Was it the temperance wagon? Was it the Bible wagon? Was it a wagon transporting alcohol away from towns? Or was it a water cart?
I have like a picture of all of the Prohibition era ladies fighting for no alcohol, like all gathered up. And in my head, it's like, yeah, they could all be gathered on a wagon. I'm going to go for temperance. I'm going to go for the temperance wagon.
Emily, Kyle.
Ooh.
Another question I love because we all use this phrase.
Yeah.
But as you are demonstrating, you don't think, what was this wagon?
In my head, it was just the capital T, capital W, the wagon.
Oh, wagon.
No, absolutely. Falling off the wagon, getting on the wagon. But what the hell is this wagon and where's it going?
I guess there's part of me that feels like I should go for the one that makes the least sense. That's risky, huh?
Kyle, you can guess it.
Do you want to go for it, Kyle?
Either of you could do
I mean, I can go. Yeah, I mean, my second guess was the Bible wagon.
I mean, to be honest, Carl, it might have been better if you just hadn't answered any questions at all.
The equivalent, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's not pretty what I'm looking at here. It's really not.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like Emily threw you into that one as well.
She did,
Because
yeah.
not only have you lost a mark, but you've also reduced the options by one.
I think it's the wagon taking the alcohol out of town because that doesn't make sense to me, which means it must be it.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Okay.
It is the water cart. It was like a joking reference to the carts that used to have vats of water on the back that they used to spray onto the dusty roads to stop the dust flying up. Oh. So it's like the water cart. So someone on the wagon would be drinking water rather than liquor.
Sure, gotcha.
That makes sense.
Wow.
So we have Kyle. You have 2.
Wow, that's more than I thought.
I know.
I'm also kind of surprised.
Emily has 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh boy.
And Seth, if you can hear the music, if you can see the podium rising up, the kind of like glitter cannons being put in place, you have a whopping 5. And so it is with great pleasure and subject to clear drug testing results that I can say that you are the winner of this now annual League of the Lexicon quiz.
So long as you write another book next year.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do. Congratulations. Your prize will be in the post. And as I think Kyle can affirm, the quality of my prizes are pretty good.
Yes.
Honestly,
I'll get
best
one
prize
someday.
you'll ever receive. Yeah. Joshua, thank you so much for joining us on the show and for talking about all of this with us and for coming up with this game for us. And it's just been a fantastic day.
It's really fun being back with you guys. It's really fun just diving down into this stuff and being able to share some of it with people who get as excited about it as I do. And that really is all this is about. And so, yeah, thank you for having me on. And it's been a lot of fun being able to talk about the game and talk about the book. And I feel like we could rabbit on for ages.
Listen, we were so happy to have you on today, and we cannot wait to have you on again in the future, multiple times, annually, maybe even semi-annually, if we can make it happen.
Or biennially.
Or
biannually. I'm not sure.
Whichever one we want to go with. Joshua, Can you let our audience know where they can find you and everything that you're doing?
Everything can be found on leagueofthelexicon.com. You'll find information about the game, the US edition, the special editions, and my book, all on leagueofthelexicon.com, including where you can buy it. And I really hope people get a chance to check it out, because there's been a lot of love that's gone into all of it. And I think it's going to make word lovers very happy.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I would also love to draw attention to your Substack, Joshua, the Lexipedian, which
yes,
viewers can find at lexipedian.substack.com. There's lots of lovely things there.
That's been fun. And that, again, is an opportunity to let my mind go for a little explore in the world of words. So yeah, do check that out.
Thank you again, Joshua. Thank you for writing this fantastic book. Again, that is the Language Lovers Lexipedia, as well as the League of the Lexicon's new US edition. Go out there, get it.
And remember, listeners, you can find this podcast, Butter No Parsnips, on social media, on Facebook and Instagram at Butter No Parsnips Podcast, and on TikTok at Butter No Parsnips. And if you like today's episode, consider giving us a 5-star rating or review wherever you heard us.
And if you really like today's episode, consider donating to our Patreon at patreon.com/butternoparsnips. Donating $5 or more gets you a shout out either on social media or here on the podcast.
And you can also see what Kyle got last year.
That's true.
Yeah, you can also see we did an unboxing of my prize. And we'll presumably do another one in the future.
A much bigger one, I assume.
Yes. Lots more champagne.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure yours is special. So. actually, you know what? That came out way more menacing than I meant. Sorry, it's going to be really nice. It will be really nice. I promise.
I assume all the example sentences will be reflected in the
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thanks so much to all of you at home. You help us make what we make.
And with that, I've been Emily Moyers.
I've been Seth Glicksman.
And I've been Kyle Imperatore, and you've been
Joshua Blackburn.
And this has been Butter No Parsnips.
Butter No Parsnips is produced by Seth Glicksman, Emily Moyers, and myself, Kyle Imperatore. The main and accompanying themes are composed by Kyle Imperatore.